What's good, folks? It's KnightmareFrame here with a new Warframe video. God damn, this channel has hit 30k subs. It may not be much for some, but it means a lot to me, and I'm so grateful for that. This is insane. Never thought we'd get this far, and it's all thanks to you guys and your support. Much love and thank you so much. So I'm here today with a Loki build. This is one of my most requested Warframe builds, along with Limbo, but I decided to go for Loki. Now, Loki doesn't have much to offer in terms of buffs or damaging abilities, but he has his stealth, disarm, and he works great with weapon synergies. So let's take a look at his kit before we get into the builds. His passive grants him extra wall latch duration, which is Now his first ability, Decoy. You deploy a decoy and draw enemy fire, but unfortunately it's super squishy and dies in one hit, but useful when using this with his third and fourth ability, and it only scales up duration, so its health and shields remain the same. His second ability is Loki's bread and butter, invisibility. He just becomes invisible, and how long he remains invisible scales up duration. Stealth also works great with stealth damage multipliers. Alright, his third ability, Switch Teleport. This allows Loki to switch positions with a target. When using this on an enemy, it leaves them confused. This requires direct line of sight, meaning you have to have the target in your crosshairs. You can pair this up with your first ability when in spy missions, to get through those lasers and tight situations, or just to troll your teammates. And his fourth ability, Radial Disarm. You unleash an energy wave that briefly stuns and permanently disarms enemies. It scales off range. Melee enemies are just stunned, and other unique units like Ancients suffer a knockdown effect. It does impact to certain enemies, and that damage scales off power. But impact is a useless damage type, and the ability doesn't affect all enemy units, so there's no point in using this as a damaging ability. He may not sound impressive to some, but he offers some great utility. I'm going to be using a melee setup with Loki. That takes him to the next level. Now, the toughest enemies in the game right now are Grineer and Corrupted, since they have armored units, ancient healers, and etc. So this is where I want to increase my damage towards those factions, and that's where I'll use the melee primed smite mods. So smite mods allow you to double dip in damage, so the bonuses are applied after your modded damage, basically applying another instance of damage towards the faction you're up against. With slash procs, you double dip, and toxin damage over time will triple dip, further increasing your damage output. Imagine you pair this up with a stealth multiplier and a detect vulnerability. It's just really disgusting, and armor doesn't matter at all. So I was inspired by Relentless Zen and his Avara with a gas twin Krokur build. You should totally check it out, but I'm lazy and I didn't want to go over 2 hours. So let's not waste time and get to the build. I do have an aura forma that allows me to run anything I want. For my first Loki build, I have Swift Momentum in the aura. This grants me 6 seconds of combo duration and 30% heavy attack wind-up speed, but I'm using it for the 6 seconds of combo duration. And in the X list, I have an enemy radar. You can use enemy sense or vigilante pursuit. Duration at 282% with the use of narrow-minded, constitution, and primed continuity. This gives me 33.84 seconds on my invisibility. Since we lose out in range because of narrow-minded, I will use overextended and stretch, increasing the range to 169%. This gives me 33.8 meters on my radial disarm, which is more than enough. Natural talent is there to increase my casting speed for his radial disarm. Rolling guard grants you that invulnerability after a dodge roll, perfect to use right before you recast your invisibility, and very helpful against those toxin procs as it cleanses you of any status effects. And also be sure to cast your fourth ability right after it, as it helps against bombard rockets. And finally, streamline for the added efficiency. As you may have noticed, I don't have hushed invisibility as I don't need it, since my secondary and melee are not alarming at all. But if you feel like you need it, you can either replace streamline or natural talents. You can even go augur reach for more range. It's all down to your playstyle. I'm running arcane energize for the energy regen and strike for the 40% additional attack speed. Now for the deadly melee weapon synergies using the primed smite mods, I recommend these 3 weapons: the dual E-cores, Jat Kuzar, and Sylvan Aegis Prime. These have insane crits, base elements to make gas, and have base slash or stances that force proc slash. So starting with my favorite and the one I used in the footage, and that's the dual E-cores. Gas and toxin work pretty much the same, but gas does initial damage and spawns toxin clouds that deal damage over time, while toxin just has those damage over time clouds straight up. and the dual E-cores are base toxin. With that, you can place a heat mod and you immediately have gas. I prefer swirling tiger in the stance as it deals a force slash and that impact that knocks down enemies, which will leave them vulnerable for a ground finisher, further increasing your damage output, especially with condition overload and the smite build. Molten impact, the heat mod so we can have gas. Weeping wounds increases the status chance by 40% per combo counter. So with base 15%, you will get around 81% at max combo. Blood rush for the 60% crit chance per combo, which will get you to 190% at max combo. Reminder, blood rush and weeping wounds will scale off your base crit and status chance, and not your modded one. Condition overload for the 120% damage per status effect on a target. Prime smite of corrupted or Grineer for the 55% damage towards the faction. Primed reach for the range, organ shatter for the crit damage, and berserker for the attack speed when critting. You can also switch this up and use primed fever strike instead of molten impact. This boosts the toxin damage and there's almost literally no difference in terms of DPS. And now another awesome melee is the Jadkuzar, similar setup as the second dual E-cores build. Unfortunately, it only has one PvE stance, and that is the Defiled Snapdragon. Since the weapon has base heat, so all I had to do was use Prime Fever Strike, and I got gas. Jadkuzar has a base crit chance of 35%, so with Blood Rush, you will easily hit red crits. And along with the elements, it also has physical damage types, which is perfect for condition overload. And another beast of a weapon that was featured in my top 5 most overpowered melees, the Silva and Aegis Prime. Same setup as the Jadkuzar. Unfortunately, we have no physical damage types, but we have higher elemental damage, which will scale very well with the crits and weeping wounds. The great thing about Silva and Aegis is that it's a sword and shield, and we can use the stance Final Harbinger, which will force proc slash, further increasing our damage output. Now for me personally, I love using these melee setups with a Zakti. Zakti has a special feature. It shoots out darts that explode and deal gas damage, and they also stagger enemies and have them susceptible to finishers and stealth damage multipliers. You see where I'm going with this? On top of that, I will mod this weapon with corrosive and blast. It will strip a little, it will strip some armor, but it's mostly used for the utility and a damage increase for my melee. And it's perfect against nullifier bubbles. It has 4 dual stat elemental mods, a multi-shot, and sure shot. Of course, the last mod you can run whatever you want. And in the Exilis, I have suppress to silence my weapon. To be honest, Zakti will pretty much be used once you get to that level 130 mark. Other than that, anything below that will die without the need of armor strip or any bonuses from the Zakti. Of course, that's not all in terms of damage increase. I will use my Helios with detect vulnerability. Helios is a squishy sentinel, so it dies too quickly. But with a stealth frame, it's practically immortal. Here you have your go-to sentinel mods and the augment detect vulnerability. This is like having a pocket sonar banshee. Once you have the codex scan, all these targets, the enemy weak spots will be highlighted, and any form of attack on those areas will increase your damage done to the enemies by 275%. And for its weapon, the Deconstructor, I will have the 3 gladiator mods to increase my crits. Unfortunately, if you die and force resurrect, you lose the bonus. I hope this is a bug and gets fixed soon. Alright, I do have another Loki build for spy missions, rescues, and quick exterminates. It's built for speed and decent duration. With 207%, I have 25 seconds of invisibility, and with 190% range, I gain 38 meters on my radial disarm and 142.5 meters on my switch teleport. With all the speed mods, I gain a bonus of 72% sprint speed, but we can take that even further beyond with a Dispatch Overdrive heavy attack melee build. Dispatch Overdrive increases your movement speed by 60% on heavy attack hits, so I usually run with a heavy attack Reaper Prime modded with Dispatch Overdrive. It kills and makes you move faster. Alright guys, these are my Loki builds, and again, thank you so much for the support. And that has been it from this video. I do hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe. For more Warframe content, streams, and so much more, do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.
So it's like no point what's... Aw, are you kidding me? How did I die?
Ow.
Fucking bombard just hit something randomly and I just died. Fuck, that's unlucky.
Yep.
And now I lost my red crits.